A man wakes up in a small white room with no idea who he is. He can't remember his name, his face, or how he got here. 2 other people are in the room with him, and they're both dead, mummified in their beds. And when he finally drags himself to a window, he sees stars that are all wrong. He is not on Earth. He is very, very far from home, and he is completely alone. Stay with me for the next 10 minutes, and you'll get the whole story, the science-obsessed author who wrote it, and why this might be the most purely joyful book on this entire channel. I'm Sarah, and this is Books and Authors Explained. Today, Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, and fair warning, I'm going to spoil all of it because the twist in the middle is the whole reason to read it. And hold on to this before we begin. Our hero thinks he is alone out here at the edge of nowhere. He is wrong. Somewhere very close. Something else is out here too. And the moment they meet is going to change what kind of story this is entirely. Remember that. His memory comes back in fragments, and with it, the terror of why he's here. Back on Earth, scientists noticed something impossible. The sun was slowly dimming. Something was eating its energy. A microscopic organism that lives on the surface of stars, feeding on their heat, they call it astrophage, and it is multiplying. The maths is a death sentence. Within a few decades, the sun fades enough to freeze the earth, kill the crops, and end most of human life. This isn't a war you can fight. It's an extinction, arriving in slow motion, and everyone on the planet can see the clock ticking. Governments do something they've never managed before. They set aside every rivalry and throw the whole species at the problem. The effort is run by a ruthless administrator named Strahd, who is given absolute authority to do whatever it takes. No budget, no law, no ethics can stand in her way. Because there's one clue worth everything. Every star nearby is being devoured, except one. A star called Tau Ceti, infected but somehow not dimming. Something there is keeping the astrophage in check. So humanity makes one desperate throw of the dice. Build a starship, send it to Tau Ceti, find out what saves that star, and beam the answer home. There's no fuel budget to bring the crew back. It is, by design, a one-way trip. They give the ship a name that says everything about the odds, the Hail Mary. Deedfully need. And here's who ends up going. Our man remembers with a jolt that he isn't an astronaut at all. He's Ryland Grace, a junior high school science teacher, a man who walked away from academic research years ago because he'd rather teach kids the wonder of science than fight for grants. He was pulled in as an expert and then, we slowly learn, maneuvered onto this suicide mission in a way he never truly agreed to. His 2 crewmates died in the medically induced coma meant to keep them alive across the years-long journey. So Ryland wakes as the only survivor, light years from any help, tasked with solving the hardest scientific problem in history, entirely alone. And this is the engine of the whole book. It's a puzzle. Grace has almost nothing, and he has to science his way forward. One experiment, one clever fix, one, okay, what do I actually know at a time? If you love The Martian, this is that exact feeling, dialed all the way up. There's a real joy in watching a smart, funny, ordinary person refuse to panic and just work the problem. He tests, he fails, he tries again, he talks himself through it out loud. And for a while, that's the book, one lonely genius against the dark, until the dark answers back. At Tau Ceti, the story cracks wide open. Grace's instruments pick up something that shouldn't exist. Another ship. Another vessel from another star, parked at the exact same dying sun, clearly there for the exact same reason. He is not humanity's only hope. Someone else's world is dying too. And they have come to the same lonely spot in the galaxy, chasing the same answer. Aboard that ship is an alien. Grace names him Rocky, a creature about the size of a large dog, shaped a little like a spider built out of stone, with 5 legs and a hard carapace. He sees the world through sound instead of light, and breathes air that would kill a human in seconds. Rocky's entire crew has died too. 2 lone survivors from 2 different worlds, meeting at the loneliest place imaginable. And here is the miracle of the book. They become best friends. Watching them learn to talk is one of the great joys in modern science fiction. Neither knows the other's language, so they build one from scratch. Numbers first, then a whole vocabulary of musical chords, because Rocky speaks in sound. Grace engineers a tunnel joining their two atmospheres so they can work side by side without dying. They trade science and they trade jokes. Rocky is patient, loyal, brilliant with his hands, and endlessly delighted. His catchword, over and over, is simply amaze. They save each other's lives more than once. Two strangers who, by every logic, should fear each other, instead choose, again and again, to help. In a book about the end of two worlds, the warmest thing in it is this unlikely friendship. Together they crack the mystery. The reason Tau Ceti's star survives is a second organism, a natural predator of astrophage that Grace nicknames Tau Muba. It eats the very thing that's killing both their sons. Breed enough of it, carry it home, seed it into a dying star, and you stop the dimming. It's the cure for the end of the world, sitting in a little sample vial, but it's fragile, it's fussy, and getting it to survive nearly defeats them. And then it all goes wrong at once? The precious Tau Muba turns out to eat through the astrophage that fuels the ships themselves, threatening to strand them both. Rocky's vessel is crippled, and his homeworld, arid, is dying faster than Earth. In the middle of the crisis, Grace runs the numbers on his own journey home and sees the terrible truth. To save Rocky, he'd have to give up his own return forever. His mission is technically done. The cure is already racing back toward humanity aboard a small automated probe. Earth will be saved whether he comes home or not. So there's nothing forcing his hand except the thing that's driven him all along. He will not abandon his friend to die alone in the dark. Grace turns his ship around and goes back for Rocky, and the final image of the book is quietly perfect. Grace survives, not on Earth, which he will never see again, but on Arid, Rocky's world, breathing borrowed air inside a special enclosure the Iridians built just for him. And what is he doing there, this man who gave up everything? He's back in a classroom. He is teaching alien children about science, lighting up at their curiosity, exactly as he did on Earth. He lost his whole world and found a new one. He's home. So who writes something this clever and this warm? Andy Weir, and his own story is almost as unlikely as his books. He was a computer programmer, the son of a physicist, who wrote fiction on the side for years with basically no success. He was, by his own cheerful admission, a failed novelist for most of his adult life. Then he started posting a story called The Martian on his personal website, one chapter at a time, for free. His readers were mostly fellow science nerds who fact-checked his orbital mechanics in the comments. When fans asked for an easier way to read it, he put it on Amazon at the lowest price he was allowed to charge, 99 cents. It promptly sold tens of thousands of copies, set off a bidding war among real publishers, and became a Ridley Scott film starring Matt Damon. He'd accidentally become one of the biggest names in science fiction by giving his work away for free. Project Hail Mary was the book he wrote next with all the confidence that success buys, and it shows on every page. A couple of things most people don't know. Weir is fanatical about getting the science right, and he says essentially everything in Project Hail Mary is real physics, with one deliberate exception at the quantum level to make the star fuel work. He wrote his own software to calculate the actual star positions and flight paths, and Rocky, the most beloved alien in years, was salvaged from a completely different novel Weir had started and abandoned. 75,000 words of a space opera he threw in the bin, keeping only the best pieces. The friend of the decade was a rescue from the scrap heap. So why should you read it? Because almost every serious science fiction story about the end of the world is bleaky, and this one flatly refuses to be. Project Hail Mary stares at extinction, loneliness, and impossible odds, and answers them with curiosity, competence, and friendship. Its quiet argument is that what saves us isn't a weapon or a chosen one. It's a school teacher who won't stop asking how things work, and two lonely strangers who decide to help each other. And read it because it's simply an enormous amount of fun. It's a page-turner that makes you feel clever, that makes hard science feel like the most thrilling thing in the world, and that quietly sneaks up and breaks your heart with a friendship between a human and a talking rock. You'll finish it grinning, a little teary, and wanting to high-five a scientist. Not many books can do that. I'm Sarah, and this is Books and Authors Explained. The affiliate link to the book is in the description.